What's up, guys? Hola, amigos. How you doing? So apparently, I'm bored enough to try and do few things. I read somewhere boredom is a sign that you need to get creative and that you need to do things. Right. So here is me trying to be creative and do things like always. All right. So today we are going to go through this topic, and it's going to be a reading and a discussion, and it's basically my own experience. Uh, we'll talk about 10,000 steps a day phenomenon, a personal journey. It's a blog post I compiled a couple of years back for my own blog on shashankagarwal.com. And you can have a look at that. And we will have a look at this one discussion on what does 10,000 steps actually mean, right? And there are a few things, the table of contents. And I think for this particular discussion podcast, we will cover all these topics, right? So that would help us understand and help me share my experience uh, in a concise way, probably, right? So the seven things that this post talks about, and I'll try and break down this discussion into these seven parts, the table of content. What do 10,000 steps equate to, right? How do I achieve my 10,000 steps each day? What do 10,000 steps mean in real life? How can I make the most of these 10,000 steps? 15,000 steps a day, Shashank, that would take a long time. That's a topic as well, right? You have to raise your bar beyond 10,000 steps. The 10,000 steps a day summed up in 10 points, and then more about this post, right? So maybe we will not do all seven of them, but we will probably, focus on some of the key points, but then whatever, right? All right, guys, let's get started. Uh, in the era of fitness tracker and smartwatches, the buzz around completing 10,000 steps a day has never been higher. I conducted some research, and it seems that what started as a marketing gimmick has now become a widely accepted benchmark for fitness and physical activity. In my journey of weight management, I have been maintaining 10,000 steps a day for 3 years, and I'll share my experience in this post. So that's me, probably. Actually, not probably, that's me writing this blog post. And I will be sharing my further experience in this podcast and post. What do 10,000 steps equate to? That's the most important question. What do they translate to? First, we need to translate this number into a more tangible number. In my experience, depending on the tracker you are using and possibly your height, along with factors like terrain, 10,000 steps roughly equate to a walk of 5 to 7 kilometers. At an easy walking pace, this is going to take just over an hour. So basically, depending on the height and how fast, maybe the length of your step and the terrain you are walking in, the type of, I don't know, shoes, where your tracker is positioned on your body, 10,000 steps would roughly equate to 5 to 7 kilometers of walking time, of movement time. And it's going to cost you around 60 minutes of your uh, uh, 60 minutes of your day. So I think, yeah, so 5 to 7 kilometers, I think that's a good estimate, right? And moving on, how do I achieve my 10,000 steps a day? Well, going for walks is an obvious choice, but sport jogging, dancing, running, and standard jogging are the ways I generally complete my 10,000 steps each day. And this is something I need to remind myself, because I've been missing dancing and I've been missing sport jogging, and I've not been able to go out that much as well, thanks to my time in Delhi. That reminds me, I can stand up and talk as well. Let's see how it works, right? And anyhow, just to try and completing some of the steps. All right. So what do 10,000 steps mean in real life, right? So let's get on with it, right? So in my experience, 10,000 steps signify a minimum level of human activity. Okay, so it signifies a minimum level of human activity and should not be considered a benchmark for substantial exercise. So it's like, okay, so 10,000 steps is the bare minimum that you need to, I mean, I mean, I don't know, just to get your blood going, right? I mean, that's the bare minimum you need. For example, a typical individual who wakes up, gets ready, walks to the metro station, goes to office, attends a few meetings, takes a few breaks, comes back home and does basic grocery shopping will easily reach 10,000 steps or more. Here I'm just describing a normal day of an office going person, right? Things that you will carry out in your day-to-day life. I think NEAT is what they call it, NEAT or something like that, right? This isn't exactly a workout, but rather basic human activity. However, if you work from home or your office doesn't require much movement, achieving 10,000 steps could pose a challenge. That's my life, right? So that's why I've been thinking about it and working on it because I don't go anywhere. This is where I work. This is my home. This is my office and studio or whatever you want to call it, right? If you have some physical constraints or any other obstacles that limit your movement, then 10,000 steps become a good benchmark for returning to an average level of activity. Okay, so that's a good point here. Let's say, like me, you are suffering from obesity or some issues in your feet or legs or whatever, in your knees or, whatever. And then uh, that you basic mobility was a challenge. 1,000 steps, 2,000 steps, 5,000 steps. Just getting out and going to the grocery store or just going out and climbing the metro, boarding the metro, and reaching some other destination used to be a challenge. That's the if you are that challenged due to whatever reason, then 10,000 step is a great point to get yourself started, to get your basic mobility in. In the process, of course, you will lose some weight, you will gain some muscle, lose some muscle or whatever. Uh, However, do not consider it to be uh, a benchmark of anything. It's a landmark, you know, it's a landmark of you getting started, but it's not really taking you anywhere. It's just getting the basics right. All right. Coming to the next segment, right? How can I make most of these 10,000 steps? Let me go through the decks first and then I'll try and put my things into it. And again, getting on my beat here. So, how can I make the most of these 10,000 steps? While 10,000 steps at a sedentary or moderate pace might only provide the basic level of activity needed, it's quite simple to make them count for more. Okay. This can be achieved by adding variations in levels, intensity, speed, etc. to those steps. Ultimately, how you accomplish these 10,000 steps matters more than simply completing them. For example, if you jog for a straight hour to reach your 10,000 steps, the impact is going to be different than if you achieved those steps by walking around doing basic chores. In simplest terms, I add another layer to these 10,000 steps, the pace at which they are done. It doesn't mean that 10,000 steps have to be done all at once or at a certain pace. Various permutations and combinations can be used. You can run for a couple of kilometers, then later in the day go for a leisurely grocery shopping walk, and maybe even have a dance session in the evening with friends. And it's crucial to remember that 10,000 steps are not a hard and fast rule, and you can aim for 12,000 or 15,000 steps. There is no one stopping you. Okay, so yeah, it's complicated, right? So let's say I'm just doing this right now, and the steps are being counted, and I end up doing 10,000 steps. So yes, there are 10,000 steps in there, but the kind of impact they would have on my body is not going to be the same. Which is if it's I was like running or walking or climbing up or down, right? So it's a very different kind of impact that my body would have. So yeah, variation is important, and it does not have to be boring like it is mentioned here. You can run for a couple of kilometers, get your heart rate up, do a sprint, and the rest of the things you can do within leisurely walk, or you can just jog, or you can just dance. So you have to add some variety to the mix to make it or keep it interesting, right? So that's the basic of it. Keep it interesting. We'll talk about it, right? Coming to the next one. 15,000 steps a day, Shashan, that would take a long time. Okay, yep, indeed, it would take a long time, at least 90 minutes to 120 minutes. That is like 1 to 2 hours of your day, depending on your pace, right? However, I believe that it is the level at which you can say you are physically active. That's true. 15,000 steps is like Okay, it takes some effort, takes some time. It's more than an hour of activity. And for me personally, yes, that is when I would start to count it's a moderate level of activity. And that is what I've written here as well. So we are on the same page, me and me of 2 years back and me of today. So if we weren't working from home or confined to jobs that don't require much physical activity, doing something as mundane as farm farming our own land or managing a grocery store would have us active for 10 to 20,000 steps a day. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is if we were not office workers or strapped to these chairs or something like this, in your home or whatever, right? And if you were, let's say, managing a grocery store or a food stall or a chai ka stall or a dhaba or you were just working in a warehouse. So 10 to 20,000 steps is what you will end up doing physical activity worth of effort anyhow, right? So if you are not in one of those areas of work where you need to be out and about and were confined to a chair, then this is very important for you, right? This is very important for you. 15,000 steps to 20,000 steps. Even for me, even though of late I've been not doing it, but I've been doing some badminton and battle ropes. But yeah, you get the point, right? All right. So the 10,000 steps a day summed up in 10 points. Okay. So I think this is the last segment. In this era of fitness trackers and smartphones, the hype around achieving 10,000 steps a day at all-time high. What started as a marketing gimmick has now become a widely accepted benchmark for fitness and physical activity. My experience over the past 3 years, I have made it a habit to achieve 10,000 steps a day as part of my weight management journey. Translating steps into distance, we already talked about it, depending on factors such as fitness tracker you use, your height, the terrain. 10,000 steps equal to 5 to 7 kilometers, just over an hour of easy walking. My path to 10,000 steps, besides walks, activities like sport jogging, dancing, running, and standard jogging, they were the things that helped me reach there. 10,000 steps in real life, in my experience, 10,000 steps signify a minimum level of human activity and not necessarily a robust exercise routine. A day filled with typical activities like commuting, office meetings, and grocery shopping often sums up 10,000 steps or more. If you're not doing that, you need to catch up. The challenge of 10,000 steps for those who work from home or in jobs with minimal movement, hitting the 10,000 steps mark can be challenging. For individuals with physical constraints, this goal can serve as a benchmark to return to average level of activity. Fair enough. Maximizing the impact of 10,000 steps, you can increase the value of 10,000 steps by adding variations in levels, intensity, speeds, and other factors. The way you accomplish these steps matters more than the count itself. So hard points is another thing that I want to bring into picture, maybe for not this particular video or podcast, but in next one, right? I add another layer to 10,000 steps, the pace at which they are done. The various combinations can be used. For example, running for a couple of kilometers, following a leisurely walk, grocery shopping, dance session in the evening, the friends. I think they have done that already. Aiming higher than 10,000 steps. Remember, 10,000 steps is not a hard and fast rule. You can aim for 12,000 steps or 15,000 steps. No one is stopping you. I mean, if you are fit, you go for it, right? Achieving 15,000 steps would take at least 90 to 120 minutes of your day, depending on your pace. However, the level of activity signifies a moderately active lifestyle, which is an achievable goal, even for those with desk jobs or sedentary lifestyle. All right. So, 1 hour to 2 hour of your time, you need to spare out, you need to move, you need to make efforts to get those steps or hard points in, and there is no excuse for that. All right. More about this post. Uh, and this is more about the post. If you are on the blog post and you want to read, and I'm just explaining where it is coming from and how it is written, so you can do that. But I think for the discussion for this particular podcast video, I'm gonna end it here, which is 10,000 steps a day phenomenon. And I hope this is helpful to some people. And you would hear more from me about this topic because it's been years that I've been working on. So if you have some questions and if you have something for me, some, whatever you want to ask me, please shoot away in the comments. Or if you have some experience to share, please share with the community. And I hope that will help everyone else as well. Yeah. So ciao for the time being. And I hope to see you later. Bye.